meditations of our hearts and make them acceptable in your sight. O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. It's quite a story, isn't it? Do you think that in many ways do you hear the same dialogue going on today? James and I were blessed to go have breakfast with the men from Bait Chauffeur Road. And they're thinking back and remembering and hearing a lot of same dialogue that led to the Holocaust. A lot of things going on in different ways, and so much violence and hatred that's still out there. So, what's different about this story? Why is it so powerful that this story is here for us? Still. That we still hold on to it. It didn't seem, by all accounts, to have victory any more than a lot of other ones that came and went. Why this one? Why is it so strong? Think it might have to do with Jesus? You think it might have to do with the fact that throughout his life, and even as he approached his death, in all things, his integrity was sound. In all things, Jesus remained true to that which he taught, preached, and proclaimed. That he lived the way he shared. Makes a difference, doesn't it? And in spite of all of that, that's what gives power, I think, to hear the words when we come to Sunday that says, he is risen. He is risen because he said it, and throughout, did you hear when they talked about that they kept trying to find false witnesses against him? And no matter what, they couldn't. Well, trust me, if people looked real hard, and it wouldn't probably have to look real hard, they could find some not-so-false witnesses against me. How about you? They could find ones that would say where I have sacrificed my own integrity at times. And when that happens, and when you look at me, trust me, it's not one you're going to want to build your life on the fact of exactly what I said. It doesn't give it all that much authority. But Jesus, on the other hand, it does. And it does because of who he was. Do you know that Gandhi once said, I love your Christ. I just don't like the Christians very much. Now here's a man who led a huge number of people out there who were believers in another religion, who loved Jesus sometimes more than we as Christians love him, in the sense of following him with all of his heart. His integrity of what he said made a difference. When we say we are Christians, what does it mean? Just because you stand in a garage doesn't make you a car. Just because we come to church doesn't make us Christians, does it? What is it that makes us Christians? What is it that makes us followers of Jesus? I think it has to do with what we value above all else. I think it has to do with seeing and being a part of a God who is much, much bigger. We have been following throughout the Lenten season the whole understanding of letting God's blessings flow. And as we come to the conclusion of it, we're going to be talking about money. Why money? Because money's probably the biggest thing that becomes a God in our lives along the way. Money becomes what we work for, what we look for. Just like Judas. Did you hear the words in the gospel today? Judas said, How much are you willing to give me to betray him into your hands? How much are you willing to give me? Jesus was the treasurer. Some of the biggest struggles I've had in my ministry have been with treasurers in the church. Sorry, Diane, it's just true. Some of the biggest struggles for treasurers is actually because what are they focused on in a tremendous way? They're focused on money. They're focused on money all the time. It becomes their direction, their focus. So when he says, how much will you give me to betray him into your hands? What is he asking? There's the question right there. How much will you give me? What good is money? What is the use of money? How does money actually work? Well, the truth is, money is nothing. If you take money, you take any money, and you bury it in the ground, what do you got? Bunch of buried money, right? You look into your pocket, whether it's silver, gold, whether it's paper, it has no value except what we give it. That is the only value money has. I find it amazing that we put "in God we trust" on our money. Because, see, there's the danger, right? Is it possible that the money can become God? Is it possible that that can become our direction? What happens when it does? Well, a lot of things. And you see it all in this story, in this culmination, but we see it in our own time. See, the truth is, all of our commerce, all of our work, all of our activity, all of our relationship is meant to produce something. We are meant to benefit the common good. If you run a business, you are meant to do something. You're providing a good service. You're doing whatever. The gifts of God were meant to flow freely throughout. They were not meant to be blocked by arbitrary ways of where we want to hold on to and make scarcity. The blessings of God were meant to flow freely through all creation. In the kingdom of heaven, there's no black or white, no male or female, no slave or free. There isn't Jew or Greek. There isn't all of those distinctions that are there. When God set it up, it was meant to flow that way. It was meant to go around that way. But what happens with money? Money was really simply set up to be a vehicle of exchange. It was because we got all messed up when it came to agriculture and other things, that what happened when you had all of this produce, and then you got rid of you traded the produce for something else, but that stuff went bad. You had to have something in the off seasons and at other times to be able to exchange. You had to be able to exchange with other nations and other things. As relationships grew, that's where money came into it. God didn't put the world together and say, and here was money. Money was placed in for us to be able to have relationship. But what was the purpose? The purpose of money is simply to be able to exchange it for other things. You take money and bury it in the ground, it has no meaning. It is only in how and what it can bring in, what it can exchange for, how it can move around. But what happens when your goal is to make money? What happens when your focus is to have more money? When everything is about money, what happens? Well, we've seen that not too distant past. It was our economic crisis, was it not? Was that not at the heart of what happened in all the things that are going on? And is it still not happening today? What happens? What are banks set up for? Why do banks exist? They exist to be able to get money to flow through, don't they? They're supposed to be so people can do this and buy this and build this and move this over here, and so that the blessings will flow through. They are set up to be an exchange. But what happens when their whole purpose is profits? What happens when they forget what the real meaning of money is and make money the purpose? Do we not see it? Do we not see it in so much of the profits and the other things that went on? They sacrificed, when money became the purpose, they sacrificed even good accounting because they could make more money over here, and they sold houses to people who couldn't afford it. And eventually what happened? Because we're all interconnected, because the blessings are meant to flow, what happened to the economy? And how has that impacted all of us along the way? Do you see? What about corporations? What about businesses? What happens? Every business, when it starts, when it begins, it is started for a purpose. There is a belief that there can be a difference made. To sell this product or to offer this product to somebody along the way, you believe you can make a difference by this product. You believe it will be helpful to them in some way. But what happens when instead of the purpose of selling the product to benefit other people, the purpose and focus becomes making money? Do we not hear that all the time when people put out their profit reports? When the profits go down, what do shareholders turn around and do? When the profits dip a little bit or go around, nobody's asking the question, are we getting it out? Are we making a difference? What are we doing in all of that? When it becomes all about profit, when it becomes all about money, what happens? You see it? The blessings of God were meant to flow all the way through. But so often, like Judas, our focus becomes money. How much will you give me to betray him? What happens in that is that value changes, doesn't it? You cannot serve two masters. You cannot serve God and money. Why? Because money can't ever approach the fullness of God. So if you serve money, you can't be serving the fullness of God. If it is all about money. To serve God takes you to a different place, a fuller place. It opens you up to things so much bigger. But what happens when your whole focus is more money? It becomes a problem, doesn't it? Now, does that mean money is evil? No. Money is never evil. Money is nothing. Money is simply a vehicle, an avenue of exchange. That's all money is. Money is not meant to be for us to be worshipped. Money is not bad. What happens when we make money the goal? That's what causes sin. That's the root. The very thing that you see in money, that's the root of all evil. And that's not. The love of anything besides God is the root of all evil. Now the amazing thing about Judas, and what happened with Judas is, we all say Judas betrayed Jesus. But I think he betrayed himself more than anything else, did he? I mean, how did it come at the end when he realized for 30 pieces of silver, what did he exchange it for? What did he get for those 30 pieces of silver? Nothing. All he got when he finally realized it, when he finally saw it, was that 30 pieces of silver didn't mean diddly. He had sacrificed something of incredibly higher value for something that was not worth but a short period of time and would be gone that quickly. We all dream about winning the lottery, right? We all dream about having all this money, but people who have won the lottery or gotten all that stuff say it can be gone just like that. Money has no lasting value except what we give to it. Everybody has money in their pockets, in and around or whatever, and as you look at it, if the government goes down, if the United States goes down, what happens to your money in the pocket? What happens to that paper that we say in God we trust? Gone. Worthless. You can use it in the bathroom, and that's about it. That's all it's worth. But now, if God is truly who we trust, what happens when things go wrong? What happens if this nation were to fall? Would God be gone? No. Because in God we trust means that we need not fear all the rest of those things. Now, here's the question. What are you willing to sell that for? What do you sacrifice that for? How many pieces of silver do you turn away, the Word of God and all the rest that is in there? How many pieces of silver do you sacrifice it for and say, that's okay over here? Or is it possible? Is it possible that we need to again remember what it is that we've been given? That's what this week is all about. I pray that as we make this journey, and Holy Week is such a powerful time. We have Maundy Thursday. What do we do on Maundy Thursday? We come together and we remember the Last Supper. What happened on the Last Supper? Judas betrayed Jesus earlier, but Jesus was never betrayed because he never betrayed God, did he? He never betrayed any of that. And even when everything was falling apart, he did not betray his disciples. He did not betray the people he loved. He never turned back hostility for hostility. He never sacrificed it for something he wanted. Instead, he always knew God had a bigger purpose. And so on Maundy Thursday, we remember that night in which he was betrayed. We remember that night, and we give thanks. Because though we betray God many times, God will never betray us. Isn't that wonderful? To be able to turn. But here's the question. How much are you willing to sell that for? How much are you willing to give that away for? That's what was before Judas. And folks, that's what's before us as well. Good Friday, when we remember that even when they nailed him to a tree, he did not curse back, did he? He did not try and tell them they were all going. Instead, what did he do? He looked out and he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Do you think Judas really knew what he was doing? Do you think he knew or would have taken that 30 pieces of silver had he really known? And I think when he did, we hear the story, didn't we? He comes back and says, oh no, this is worth nothing. And he throws it back at them. That's what we need to get back to, folks. We don't need to get back to values of a long time ago. We need to get back to a God who is here. And we need to remember that he has never betrayed us, nor will he ever betray us. We need to remember what value we have been given here. And then, whether it's money or anything else, treasure it. Treasure it with all your heart. God, money, but real value is God who loves us.